All right, guys, we're going to talk about the importance of getting everything lined up in those legs or those lower extremities when we're doing things. We already talked about that neutral arch and how those 3 points should be even on the ground. And if we go too far out to one side, what happens? Too far in, what happens? Okay. This will also help drive what happens in our hips. But if we allow those hips to rotate inward, okay, we see what happens to my feet. If we allow those hips to go too far outward, then we see what happens to my feet too. So trying to find that neutral and engage. Okay, if we aren't engaging those glute muscles, then what happens is we get a lot of this, and then we squat and we get this position, which we all know leads to eventually probably some pain and some issues, hip, knee, or ankle. And it's just not a good landing, and it's not a good way of performing your best. The other thing that happens for some of us, we get a little too much this way, and then the same kind of thing can happen, and you can see you can roll your ankles, could lead to other things as well. So making sure that we find that neutral lined up and we're engaged. Now some of us are a little bit more knock-kneed, some of us are a little bit more bow-legged. I'm a little bit bowed, but that just leaves me more room to collapse in if I want to. So just making sure that we're keeping everything lined up when we're squatting, doing our landings. And then the other thing that'll just make it easier for us when we go to stand on that one leg, okay, what happens is if I let this all drop, then my foot is rolling in, makes it a lot harder to balance, and again, it's going to lead to poor performance and likely some pain or injuries. So making sure that we're keeping all of that lined up. You can see how the hips really drive what the feet are doing, and if the feet aren't in the proper position, it really doesn't allow the hips to work as well as they should, and then our knees kind of get stuck in the middle. So making sure that we're in the proper alignment. Now, we don't necessarily always have to be toes straight ahead. As gymnasts, we are turned out a lot, and that is fine, but again, making sure we're not getting all our turnout from the bottom of our legs. So I can turn out from my knees down pretty far, but my hips don't go that far. My knees aren't lining up at all. So adjusting your feet to get into that position to line up well is what we need to line up, okay? So making sure we're paying attention to that. And we don't all have to be straight ahead when we squat. Some of us, just where our hips are shaped, a little bit of turnout might be best, okay? But just a little bit to do that, but making sure that we're lined up. So paying attention to proper squat and landings and single leg landings. It'll help with our running and overall help our performance and hopefully minimize any risk of injuries.